I'm Robert Cavuto, and today on Sonic Perspectives, I'm pleased to be speaking with Richie Kotzen for the release of his new solo album, Nomad, that will be out September 27th. Richie, welcome, and thank you for taking the time.
Thank you for the opportunity to be on your show.
Yeah, great CD. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And let me just get this one up here. So yeah, you know what I love about your albums and your music is your lyrics is always so relatable. I spend my time trying to figure out who did what to you, who wronged you, like on Cheap Shot. Are some of these autobiographical?
Now I'm just watching. I'm just watching in the background, and then I just give my perspective in the form of a song. It's an interesting thing. Obviously, you know, I've written a lot of songs and put out a lot of records. So, um, sometimes you do write something that is actually something that might be more along the lines of something that you experienced. But a lot of times, you're just writing and things come to you and you don't really necessarily connect it to an event.
Mhm.
Um, and I always use the analogy, it's like, well, if I wrote a movie about vampires or zombies, it doesn't mean that I'm a zombie or a vampire, you know. And I think with songs, you
Good now.
know, I don't go too deep into how, where, why, who I'm writing about. With the song Cheap Shots that you mentioned, there was more of a connect the dots in that particular instance. But
Mhm.
oftentimes, a song comes to me and like a lyrical hit me, you know, and you know, you don't really necessarily know where the inspiration came from. And sometimes you don't want to know because you don't want to meddle with that kindling.
I
And
get it.
so, yeah.
The architecture of this album seems very comfortable, very freeing, and very instinctual from the guitar playing to the singing to the lyric writing. Was that the case?
Yeah, it's the case with everything I do at this point because I don't have that pressure on me of having to deliver or live up to a standard beyond making myself happy.
Mhm.
And it's a weird way to say it. Let me put it this way. I always say it this way, it's better. I hear music and I want to make the speakers reflect what I'm hearing in my head. And that's the process. So if I have an idea, I'll work on it and I'll be in the studio and eventually I'll come to a point where I press play and I sit there and I'm like, that's it. That's what, that's
Yeah.
my statement. That's what I was feeling. That's what I was hearing. We're done. Move on. And I've always been that way. And it's always been like, easy for me to know when something's finished. Sometimes I hear people talk about, well, they can't finish or they don't know. I don't have that issue. I can feel it. I think it's a trust thing. I trust my instincts in knowing that, no, this is my statement. I like this. I don't,
Right.
and really it's key to not care so much about someone else's interpretation or opinion, about it. If you
Yeah.
like and it's reflecting your feeling, that's the beginning and the end. And then at that point, you have the decision of, okay, what do I do with it? I like it. Do I want to release it? Or maybe not. Maybe I just leave it sit on the hard drive for me. I mean, that's how 50 for 50 came to be, my album when I put out 50 songs. Some of the stuff, I love it. I don't really feel like releasing it. I'll let it sit here for a while, and that was the case on some of the compositions, not all of them, but some of them. So once you create it and you love it, then you have the option to share it or not.
Right.
Where artists get in trouble is when you have the expectation element attached to it.
Mhm.
Hey, listen to my record. Like people hand you their album. Listen to my record. That. I don't. I did that once. Every time I know I'm rambling, but I have to tell you something.
Oh,
It's
good.
very interesting. Um, one of my friends is one of my musical heroes. His name is Sananda Maitreya. You would know him probably as Terence Trent D'Arby.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. I met him when I was in my very early 20s. I was signed to Interscope Records, and my friend Stevie Salas had gotten the gig to play in his band. And I went to Stevie's house we were going out that night, and I walk in and Terrence is sitting on the sofa, and I look and I was in shock, because for me at the time, that would be like, I don't know, it's like, your favorite singer, your favorite songwriter, your favorite
Right.
performer is sitting right there in your best friend's living room, you know? So I'm like, oh, so, and I was already known then as a guitar player. I had been on the cover of Guitar World with Nuno and Reb Beach. And so, people knew who I was. I had
Right.
just signed a major recording contract with Interscope. I had just moved to LA. So I ran back out to my car and I got my demo tape. And this is the demo tape that got me signed to Interscope. Okay.
Mhm.
And I was singing on it, and it's full, Richie Kotzen music. And I come back in and I sit down next to him and we start talking. We were both very shy. And Stevie always tells a story. He's peeking behind the the hallway watching us, like laughing because we're sitting there watching Discovery Channel, and it was like real awkward conversation. So I pull this tape out and I said something to the effect of, "Hey, I just got signed to Interscope. I'm a big fan of your work. I'd love for you to, hear my music." And he looks at the tape and he puts it down on the coffee cake. He goes, "Why?" I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Why do you care what I think of your music? What does it matter?"
Yeah.
And I'm paraphrasing it, and I looked at him, I'm like, it hit me like, yeah, this guy's not being rude. He's not being a jerk. He's just being real. Like, well, why should it matter what I think of your music? And it goes back to what I said a minute ago. If you
Yeah.
love what
Your
you're doing,
artwork.
so I said, you're right. And I took the tape, put it back in my pocket, and we talked about tigers and eagles, watching the Discovery Channel. And
Awesome.
yeah, and now to fast forward today, we're good friends, and we email, and I sent him a guitar and this and that. But that was a moment for me, and he might not even remember it.
Right.
But that was a moment where I was like, yeah, yeah, dude, be confident in what you're doing, and who gives a fuck what somebody else thinks, no matter who they are of your music.
Exactly.
Either
It's your
you,
artwork. You should enjoy it. You have to be the person who enjoys it more than anybody else, right?
yeah, exactly, yeah.
You talked a little bit about this earlier, your feelings. Do you find it easier to express your feelings in a song rather than directly with people?
Mm-mm. No, 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 no. I'm a very direct person,
Are
and
you,
I am not passive aggressive, and passive aggressive pisses me off when people are passive aggressive,
mm,
and I have no problem telling someone to fuck off, or telling someone on the other side of it, on a nice way, how much they mean to me, or how much I like them, or any of that. So
call them out.
yeah, I don't no, I don't no, I'm pretty direct, but at the same time, I love the creative process. And I love the process of making something exist that didn't exist before.
Mhm.
And that is something I had a hand in. So, that's writing songs by myself. That's writing, in a newer case, me and Adrian Smith do some writing together. It's the Winery Dogs when we were together. But it's also building a deck outside by the pool, like, going to Home Depot and getting the wood and bringing it back and
Mhm.
staining, cutting it and measuring and all that stuff. So if I wasn't a musician, I'd be doing something like that. I'd probably be a carpenter, you know,
Right.
but I really love the creative process, and it goes deeper than music for me.
Yeah, and it's true. I was thinking too I know you're a fantastic guitar player. That's evident.
I'm
What
okay.
I was really impressed by was the lyrical messages and the melody. It seemed to be more integral for me personally than the guitar tone. It seemed to be the driver of the song. I
Yeah.
thought the lyrics and the messages and the melody was more of the than the driver of the guitar tone, the speed of the song, working around it. When do you introduce the lyrics into a song? Um, and how often does that happen?
Well, I love that you're saying that, because what you're saying is 100% true. So what that means to me is that you're seeing it for what it is.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people, you know, or you're hearing it for what it is. You're
Mm.
hearing it for what it is. A lot of people listen with their eyes, and they have a perception of what they think someone does, and then they don't even put the time in to listen. So I like that you're saying that, and it's true. For me, in what I do, certainly I love the guitar, there was a period in my life where I really studied a lot when I was very, very young,
Mhm.
and I took guitar playing very seriously. But then very quickly I learned, well, I'm not learning the guitar for the sport of it. Why am I learning this thing? Well, I want to make music. I want to create. And so for the music that I do, the guitar is a small part of it.
I
The
agree.
the big part of it is the story and the melody and the lyric. If I don't have something to sing, I don't have a song. I have nothing,
Right.
And so if someone wanted to listen to a guy just play solos, there's a lot of guys that can do that. They're all over Instagram. And many of them are much more interesting than me at just doing a solo. Um, but maybe I shouldn't say that, um, but I'm self-deprecating. But if I don't have something to sing about and a point of view, I don't have anything. So you're absolutely right in your observation. Thank you for seeing it for what it is. I really appreciate that.
I grew up with listening to Kiss, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, and so on, and it was always a riff and somebody singing above the riff. This
Mm.
was totally a different structure. Are you coming up with the lyrics, the poem, the melody, and then back filling it with the guitar?
Oh, okay. So that's a good question. It's different for every composition. So
Mhm.
the song Cheap Shots would be more like what you just described.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right? Where I have a riff and then I record the riff and I put the microphone up and I start freestyling some melodies.
Mhm.
I'm not even saying words,
Okay.
"Da, da, 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 to love," I'm not even saying words. And then everything, cheap shot, whatever, I say cheap shot and it
Yeah.
comes out. And then I listen back and I'm like, well, it sounds like, have you been feeling low? I could write that down because that makes sense. Sounds like I said, take another cheap shot. Well, even if I didn't say that, that's what I'm
But it
writing,
is.
right? So
Awesome.
now, how can I put together, have you been feeling low with take another cheap shot? I got all this story in between. So I start thinking, well, how about if I write about someone that, is really hates themselves, but instead of fixing themselves, they just take a lot of cheap shots at other people,
Mhm.
'cause that makes them feel better. So let
Yeah.
me make that my story. And if I know someone like that, that'll make an even better story.
Yes.
Right? And so
Very
there
good.
you go. Now, on the flip side of it, there might be another instance with the song Escape.
I was just going to say that.
Okay, now check this out. I go to bed one night, and I have this melody in my head and the lyric. I want to get out, I want to escape. La da 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 da. Right? I have that. I wake up with that. Why? Who knows how? Why? Who cares? So I force myself out of the bedroom, go into the living room where my phone is, and I open the recorder app and I sing the melody so I don't forget it.
Yeah.
And then I pick up the guitar and I feel what chords fit under this melody. Because no matter what anyone wants to argue, the melody is the key. No one
Yep.
talks about the drum groove to Happy Birthday or the chord changes to Happy Birthday. They sing the fucking melody.
Yeah.
So I've got a melody. Then I sit there. And by the way, when I have the melody, that dictates the drum beat automatically.
Okay. Yeah. And the
My
speed.
in my world, okay?
Yes.
And then I pick up the guitar and I think, what chords fit with the melody and advance the melody the best way? What feels the best? Because as you know, you could put a lot of different chords behind that. So then I figure, okay, well, these are the chords that I feel like inspired to sing that melody against.
Yeah.
And then now I realize, okay, well, I only have two lyrics. What am I going to say next? And then it just came to me, I'm going to bury every bastard in my way. And then it's like, can I sing that? I'm going to sing that. Why not? I'm going to fucking sing it. So now I'm at 3 a.m. in the living room, out of a dead sleep, writing a chorus, and I get it to a certain point, and then when it becomes not fun anymore, and I realize I haven't slept enough, I go back to bed. But I have it documented for later, and then I come and finish the song.
You wake up the next later and you're going, what the hell? This is like, a new song. Who wrote this in the middle of the night?
I learned, I don't remember the first time that happened to me, but it was years ago. And I thought, I'm tired. Um, I'm going to stay in bed and I'll remember it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes and I don't remember it and it's gone forever.
Yep.
So
It's like a dream, right?
yeah, so I forced myself to take it more seriously and get up and dig in and say, okay, let me write this. Let me see what this is.
Yeah, I thought Escape was a perfect example of that when I was listening to it. I said, this is definitely melody driven, lyrical driven more than guitar versus Cheap Shot. So we're
Yeah,
on the same page. We get it. We've spoken many times over the years, and in previous interviews, you've always told me there's one song on the album that's the key song, stands
yeah.
out. If I had to guess, I'm going to say it's Nomad because you named the album Nomad. Is that the case?
You're real close. For me, it's Nihilist
Ah,
and
okay.
then and Nomad because the reason being, I wrote that Nihilist song, and I think I might have wrote that and recorded it, during the whole pandemic era,
Mhm.
um, and that sat on the drive, and I didn't know what to do with it, and then shortly after that, I wrote Nomad. So those two songs have been living for a while, and then it turned into, okay, well, let's do a Winery Dog record. So okay, well, I can't put out my own record now, so let's hold on to that.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then, after Cheap Shots was written, I was like, okay, well, maybe I can go back and look at those songs and see what else I have and get some new ideas. And what happened was I had those songs. Cheap Shots was written, and then uh, Insomnia was the next song that I wrote, which
Okay.
also came out of some kind of wacky dream. And then it was
Or
Escape.
not for insomnia.
Yeah, exactly. So right. So so now I've got Cheap Shots, Insomnia, and Nomad and Nihilist. I'm like, okay, that's something. Now we're on to something. And then, the rest fell into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it always your favorite song that you is the key song in your mind, or not always the case, your favorite?
Well, I don't know what my favorite song is. I don't know that I have a favorite like song. I think they all just represent different, it's
Right.
like, I don't know. It's like having a favorite, you know,
Child.
appendage, like, oh, I really love my left leg. You know what I mean? It's like, when I kind
Yeah.
of, yeah, crossing myself because I need both of them. I like
Yeah.
having
Yeah.
both.
No,
You
it's
know?
interesting because I guess that's nihilist is the catalyst that everything is formed around, or nomad. So I get it, and it
Yeah.
worked. And
Yeah.
nomad, you have a beautiful solo at the end, an extended solo at the end.
Thank
Um,
you.
Tell me a little bit about the importance of writing something like that, because it sounds like it's coming from your heart, not what people expect to hear from you. You're not like shredding,
Yeah, it's like on both of those songs, I remember like, you know, it's real easy as a songwriter when you've done enough records to kind of fall into like a same old, whether you realize it or not, where you're writing something and okay, now it's time for the guitar solo. Let's just solo over the chorus, and you can get into that sort of thing,
Yeah.
which sometimes it's nice to do that for a certain kind of song when you want to make a certain kind of impact on the listener and keep them focused on a groove or whatever it is. But other times, it's nice to really abandon that formula. And in both those songs that you're talking about, in those solo sections, that happens, you know. And I did that on this record on purpose, like when the solo section came, I was like, no, 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 I'm not gonna just solo over the bloody chorus.
Yeah.
I want to go somewhere harmonically, because just playing over the same freaking chord can be maddening,
Yeah. Yeah.
some guys like it, but
Yeah.
for me, after a while, it's like, oh, God, this is torture. So I, you know, came up with some changes, so that I had to, so I could open up, harmonically, and on both of those songs, and so even in the chorus of These Doors at the end, that little tag, you know, I remember when I was writing that song and I had the verse and I had the chorus, but I didn't have the connector, and it just felt strange. Like, how can I connect? And I started playing all these chords, and all of a sudden I played all these chords, and it got me back to the thing. And like, I got to record that.
Yeah. So I'll never remember that.
Yeah. And so then, I just found a melody that kind of, went over. And it's not that complicated, but, it would be very easy just to go verse, chorus, whatever. Um, but so I think on this record, there's a little bit of that kind of pushing beyond the lazy, I know, just solo over a verse. So, we're
I
gonna
like
solo
that.
over, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really enjoy that. You just kind of makes your mind drift off. You're just kind of soloing. It's smooth. It's easy to listen to, and
Plus, it's
I
a
love it.
clean sound. I
Yes.
also implemented, I mean, I've done it a million times on previous records, but really on this album, only being 8 songs, you've got 3 songs where the guitar solo is a direct, clean sound.
Mhm.
I friggin' love that. I love the sound of the guitar without the distortion.
Wow.
I don't know if it's because I'm getting older, my tinnitus is quite severe, but sometimes the sound of a distorted guitar makes me, feel aggressive in a
Right.
bad way. You know, so I thought, well, why don't you turn off the distortion, plug right in with a
Right.
nice clean sound, and see what you get, you
Right.
know, and so you can hear that.
Yeah, it's not a metal album by any stretch of the imagination where you need to be ripping with a solo, a distorted solo. It's more like a Neil Sean, very
Oh,
melodic, very
he's my
flowing.
favorite. Yeah,
Yeah,
by far my favorite rock guitar player. Yeah.
I think you nailed it right, perfectly.
Yeah.
There's like I just mentioned, there's an underlying rock aspect of some of the songs. Cheap Shot, obviously, but ultimately there's a lot of different musical aspects. How do you stay true to yourself while exploring modern musical paths?
I don't think about anything. I
Yeah.
just play and write, and whatever comes to me, that's what it is. If I feel inspired one day to pursue an idea, I do it. Otherwise, who cares? It's funny. The impression when I talk to some folks is that I'm always working. Oh, Richie, you're always doing. That's not true. I mean,
Mm.
I haven't played the guitar now, other than shooting for a music video. I haven't played the guitar in a month. Since I came
Wow.
home from my tour, I haven't touched it
Yeah, yeah.
other than to move it out of the way and or hold it for a photo shoot.
Dust it.
Yeah, I don't even dust it. But it was interesting because we did a cruise at the beginning of the year. They call it the Monsters of Rock
Right,
cruise.
right.
And I hadn't played the guitar since I came off the road with the Winery Dogs, which that was November, December, January, February. It was March that I had to perform. I didn't play the guitar for 3 months. And I got on the boat and I was like, well, fuck it. It's going to be what it is. And I had uh, the first solo that I took that was in an improv. It was one of my best solos I've done all year.
Hmm.
It was weird. I just kind of, connected in this weird energy where I just was like,
In a
I didn't
zone.
know what was happening, and it worked. So, there's not any thought into any of this beyond when the inspiration is there, I exploit it. That's the key.
Yeah.
And having said, like, I don't believe in writer's block. It never ever happens, because if
No,
that's
not with you.
well, if that's happening, it just means there's nothing to be written. There's
Yeah.
nothing there. Move on. Go to the beach. Go golf. Whatever you like to do. I don't golf, but I've, I've tried it. I'm not good. But go do whatever you go throw darts. Whatever it is you like to do. Go to the shooting range. Do something else. Uh, and then one day you might wake up and have an idea, and then that's when you pursue it. You
Right.
know.
The ether brings it to you, right? Just like,
There you
hey,
go.
I'm ready, and
Yeah,
you're receptive, you're open to it, and you wake up and you do it.
that's
Um,
right.
Real quick, I want to be respectful to your time. You're embarking on a solo tour from September through November. At what point do you start to select songs for this tour that you're going to play? Because you have
Well,
a wealth of
yeah,
songs.
that's already been done.
The list?
We just played, 28 shows in Europe.
Okay.
And so no one here has seen that set. And so we're going to follow on. The band is strong and well connected to the music. So there's no
Yeah.
reason to disrupt that. And so obviously we've got Cheap Shots in the set because that's the first single. I'd like to add in the On the Table, right?
Mhm.
And then there's a third single coming, so hopefully we can add that in at some
I
point.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
So it's all ready to go.
When you play the Iridium, you're doing 3 nights at the Iridium.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like Metallica, no repeat nights?
No, no, I'm not. I'm going to do the set because the reality is it's a small venue,
Mhm.
and I'm operating under the idea that the people that are there the first night will likely be different than the people the second
Got
night.
it.
The
Fair
last time I think I played in New York was a much bigger venue, but just one night, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to give everybody the same opportunity to see us play at the same level. And, you know, the reality is that to sit there and go back and learn a bunch of songs for one instance when you've got, you know, it's not practical. But
Makes
you know, down the road, the idea of going out and doing a tour and playing a specific record from top to bottom, those sorts of things are very interesting to me
yeah,
and something I'd like to do.
I get it. Well, listen, I always enjoy speaking with you. You're fascinating and very insightful, and I love the album, and I wish you the most success. I'm going to try and come out and see you when you do come to the Iridium. I think it's October, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Thanks.
So
Great.
thank you so much for your time.
All right. Awesome. Thank you.